Hello there. Have you got bored of the kind of games you like to play now and looking for something different? Maybe you've been playing those demented Harlequin games with a blade that spin on the spot, killing everything, and you've got no idea how you did it because you're too dizzy to look. We're talking like Dark Souls, that kind of game, where they give you an oversized sword half the time and they make the graphics look really fancy, but basically you're not aiming, you're just spinning and hitting and doing special moves. That kind of game. Or the shoot 'em up version of it. With save points and end of level saves and that kind of thing, which is what annoyed me. Because they're 10 to the dozen now, there are thousands of them. And they're basically story driven. They have a lot of cinematics and the gameplay suffers a little bit. And people, when you're young and you first start playing these games, they're new and you think, oh, this is exciting and colourful. But after you've played a dozen of them, they're like, oh, God, another one. Have you got to that point? Many people I've noticed these days, about 35, start feeling that. Start getting sick of that kind of game. Me, I started early. I was 13 when I got my first computer, VIC-20. It was 85 before I started feeling that way towards certain games. And the games I felt that way about first were shoot 'em ups, sideways scrollers with Defender, Scramble, or Pac-Man, or Space Invaders. And quickly I started to look towards other games like Beachhead, which was basically a shoot 'em up, but the planes went like that. It wasn't a 3D game, it was just they just appeared to fly. It was like, oh wow, killer feature. But then you got games, that came along much later, shoot 'em up games, and they basically put every bad guy with a gun point towards the door. And you'd walk through the door dead instantly, and they go, oopsies, our game isn't that well designed, is it? I know, let's put a slow-mo time in. So you go through and you're going, bang, 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 bang. And people go, oh, fantastic game. No, it's still a shit game, just with a killer feature. And that was another one, right? And I just stopped trusting them, to be honest. Plus, when you're playing that type of games, and you found the level difficult because either they've made the level 30 so difficult you can't get beyond it because they've told everybody they had 100 levels when actually they've only got 30, right? And you get to that 30th level and you're playing it over and over again. And next thing you know, you're throwing your things across the room because you're frustrated, you're getting angry. And then you beat the boss maybe on one of the levels and you get 10 seconds of joy after having an hour of frustration. Then you go outside and you want to hit somebody. I've been through a few anger issues at a time when them games were a thing in my life, and I know that's the way it made me feel at the time because they made me feel angry, frustrated, and I took it out on people back in the day, back in the 80s. It was, well, I tried not to, but I did have anger issues. When I stopped playing those games, them anger issues went. But it all comes from the same type of game. And they're a bit short on gameplay and a bit high on the demented spinning Harlequin style thing. Usually third person view so you can see the oversized swords. But once you actually look at the market today, nearly all games are like that. They're nearly all made that way. It's like there's a production had rubber stamping these games down. And they just had a few cinematics, a story, and some very light gameplay and some fancy graphics, and then they sell it as a brand new game. And a lot of players are getting bored of that kind of thing. Now, because I was actually, in a similar boat myself about years and years ago, I started branching out. Now, I first realised there was more to gaming when I played Kingdoms on the BBC Micro. That's the first City game I ever saw. That was in the very early 80s. Since then, I played every City game there is. I probably own more City games than most people even knew existed. And since I've got Steam, I've got most of them recorded on my account, although many of them are on CD or disc or tape, so... But anyway, I also played simulations. Now, just to give you an example of the kind of simulations we're talking about, you get flight sims, city sims, ant sims, Mars sims, there's everything in between, dinosaur sims. Everything. Right now, you get theme parks based on dinosaurs, zoos, or normal theme parks, usually by the same company. Right? So there's loads and loads of things you could do. There's so much variety, and the detail involved in these games is immense. It keeps you busy for years. It allows you to be really creative. And the thing about being really creative and solving problems is it makes you more intelligent over time. Where if you're playing the demented Harlequin game, spinning around with a sword, you never will be. it'll just make you more angry. So you'll end up with a mental health issue and a very low IQ. But you play a game that involves problem solving, which is how they test IQ. You find yourself getting smart. Although when they test IQ, they're usually doing geometry, says maths and your grasp of wordcraft. So anyway, moving on. Right, if you're playing these games that challenge you, then you will find it benefits you overall in the long run. You won't be getting so frustrated. Plus, there are a lot of good games out there, like Surviving Mars. Again, once you get away from the Demented Harlequin, there's an awful lot of games out there that could keep you playing, your PC or consoles for years, and many of them are on console these days. So you could still enjoy these. For me, though, the only kind of RPG games I still play, well, in fact, they invented the word character RPG, didn't they, for many of these Demented Harlequin games. But the only real RPGs I still play tend to be Bethesda's, because they made a world I can be anything in, do anything in. I could ignore their quests if I want. I could go where I want, and there was something to do. They didn't just say you can go anywhere you want, but we haven't built anything in, like Obsidian usually do. Says they said, here you go, right? Says there's lots to do. You can craft things, you can settle down, you can adopt kids, get married, kill dragons, anything you like, right? And so I play it. I like that choice. I can choose. I mean, I play many different characters in those games, and even now, I'm still playing Oblivion. Oblivion was released in 2006. In a few years' time, it's going to be 20 years old, and I'm still playing it. So this is what I mean. Games that challenge you tend to keep your attention for longer. And if you're getting bored of those Demented Harlequin games that seem to be so common these days, then you want to be looking at Planet Coaster, Battletech, City Skylines, Surviving Mars, all of these kind of games. Because these kind of games and many more like them are where it's at. This is where you end up playing when you get bored of the Demented Harlequin. Anyway, hopefully this will make you think. Because if you're playing the Demented Harlequin games, you probably haven't been thinking for very long. You've been slashing and hacking and reacting and getting angry. I actually found some games are more relaxing. City games for me are more relaxing. And every now and again you want a disaster to hit just to give you something exciting to do. Because it's all about planning and thinking and trying to solve power needs and other problems, and Battletech's about building up your faction, so you've got the mech warriors and with the skills needed and the mechs for them and things like that, and trying not to take too much damage and choosing your contracts and upgrading your ship, unless you're playing the mech warrior 5 version, in which case it's stripped down. But there's lots of games with that kind of depth out there that is interesting and will keep you coming back. And every now and again you'll get a gem like Dungeon Keeper come out, which shows you how the old games can be revived and made to feel good again, and you will still enjoy them because you won't be overplaying every single game like it, because you'll have other games to play. See you in the next one. I hope you've had something to think about with this video, and hopefully you'll enjoy the content that's coming out this week.